105 questions to ask an atheist. You can just answer them based on your knowledge or discuss your perspective in the comment box. I will make videos on every question listed one by one. Subscribe for future content updates. So whether you're simply curious about atheistic views or seeking a deeper understanding of a friend's perspective without religious beliefs, asking thoughtful questions can be a remarkably insightful adventure. The key is approaching the conversation with openness and respect, steering clear of assumptions and stereotypes that may cloud genuine dialogue. This article unveils a collection of questions that can guide your curiosity and foster a constructive and amicable exchange. Trace the contours of atheist thought as we explore beliefs, ethics, science, culture, and more, all through inquisitive and engaging conversation. Understanding atheism. What led you to embrace atheism? How do you define atheism in your own words? In what ways do you feel atheism is commonly misunderstood? Do you differentiate between atheism and agnosticism? What are the most frequent misconceptions people have about atheism? How did your family and friends react when you first identified as an atheist? Has atheism influenced your life choices and values? Do you ever reconsider your atheistic beliefs? How do you approach discussions about religion with believers? What's your take on atheist activism and its role in society? How do you find community and belonging without religious institutions? Are there any authors or speakers on atheism that have significantly influenced you? How does atheism shape your views on politics and law? How do you experience and celebrate holidays as an atheist? Can you share a positive experience stemming from your atheism? Moral and ethical perspectives. Where do you believe your sense of right and wrong comes from? How do you approach dilemmas that typically involve religious guidance? What ethical philosophy do you align with, if any? How do you respond to the idea that morality is rooted in religion? What are the pitfalls of moral relativism from an atheistic standpoint? Can secular societies uphold moral values without religious influence? What role does empathy play in your ethical decision-making? How do you instill moral values in children without religious teachings? Do you think moral values evolve over time, or are they constant? In what way do you contribute to the common good without religious motivation? How do you handle conflict with individuals who have different moral viewpoints? What's your perspective on forgiveness and redemption without religion? Are there any social issues where you find secular and religious morals aligning? How do you navigate the assumption that atheism implies nihilism or cynicism? What secular movements do you believe are doing meaningful ethical work, dealing with life and death? How do you find meaning and purpose in life without belief in a deity? What are your ways of coping with grief without religious consolation? How do you handle existential fears, such as the fear of death? What kind of legacy do you wish to leave behind? How do you approach the concept of an afterlife? What teachings or philosophies do you turn to during tough times? How do people respond to your views on life and death? Have you ever been in a situation where your atheistic view on death was challenged? How do you celebrate the life of a loved one who has passed? What are your thoughts on rituals such as funerals? How do you express empathy to others who are grieving and may have different beliefs? What discussions have you had with family regarding end-of-life care? How has your atheism influenced your perception of human life's value? What are your thoughts on the use of phrases like rest in peace? How do you confront the fear of the unknown that comes with death? Science and rationality. What role does science play in reinforcing your atheistic beliefs? How do you address the limitations of science in explaining certain phenomena? Do you ever experience a sense of awe and wonder, and how do you explain it? Can you share a scientific fact or theory that particularly strengthens your atheism? How do you navigate conversations around faith and evidence? What is your approach to the balance between skepticism and open-mindedness? How has rational thought influenced your personal growth? What do you see as the relationship between science and philosophy? Do you believe that everything can be explained through rational analysis? How do you stay informed and critical in an era of misinformation? Can rationalism and spirituality coexist in any form? How do you foster a sense of curiosity and exploration without belief in the supernatural? In your view, how does rationality contribute to ethical decision-making? How do you reconcile the appreciation of art and music, typically seen as more emotional, with rationalism? What are your thoughts on scientific wonders that often elicit a spiritual response in people? Religion and spirituality encounters. How do you feel when people pray in your presence? Have you ever participated in religious activities? And if so, why? How do you discuss religious beliefs with children? If asked, would you attend religious services out of respect for another's belief system? How do you handle situations where religion is imposed on you? What are the most challenging questions you've been asked by religious individuals? How do you maintain respect and boundaries when talking about religion? Do you think atheists and believers can find common ground? And if so, how? Have you ever read religious texts, and what was your takeaway from them? How do you respond to religious claims of experiencing miracles or personal revelations? What strategies do you use to deflect proselytizing without being disrespectful? How do you perceive spirituality as separate from religion, if at all? Have you had any significant relationships with deeply religious people? How do you address religious traditions within your family or community? What's your stance on religious-based laws and policies? Social and cultural dynamics. How has atheism influenced your relationships within your community? Have you faced any discrimination or stigma because of your atheistic beliefs? How do you navigate predominantly religious societies or environments? Can atheism coexist with strong cultural and religious identities? What's your perspective on the rise of secularism in traditionally religious countries? How do you think atheism will evolve in the social and cultural context in the future? How do you contribute to a diverse society with your worldview? What are your experiences with atheism and interfaith dialogues? How do you view the role of religion in cultural traditions and rituals? Have you ever felt excluded from social activities because of your atheism? How does atheism influence your political views and actions? How do you address the historical conflicts between religious and non-religious groups? What role do you think atheism should play in public education? Do you think religious holidays should be celebrated in secular countries? How would you encourage understanding and tolerance in a diverse religious landscape? Personal development and growth. How does atheism impact your approach to personal development? What sources of inspiration do you draw upon for personal growth? How do you define and work towards self-improvement without religious guidance? Can you describe a moment where atheism challenged you to grow personally? How have your atheistic beliefs shaped your goals and aspirations? How do you cultivate a sense of contentment and fulfillment? How does atheism inform your understanding of human potential and creativity? In what ways has atheism made your personal relationships more meaningful? How do you address the human need for connection and community? What practices do you adopt for mental wellness and resilience? How do you deal with questions about meaning and existence in your personal journey? What self-care habits are important to you as an atheist? How do you approach mentors and role models outside of religious contexts? How has your atheism influenced your attitudes toward learning and education? How do you maintain motivation and a positive outlook in life? Engaging with an atheist, or anyone with differing beliefs, provides a mirror to our own thoughts and an opportunity for growth and reflection. We live in a tapestry of worldviews, and by weaving through questions like these, we not only unravel the threads of atheism, but also knit closer the bonds that connect us all as thinkers, seekers, and humans. If you find this video informative and interesting, like the video and comment your answer and your personal perspective about atheism. And don't forget to subscribe the channel for more interesting content. See you in the next video.